Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk, our midweek check-in with you all, and we're excited to tell you about some things that are coming up. But looking back, we're in this series, Bless, and it's a series that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks that we're excited about, and talking about the different practices that Jesus did as he blessed people. And so we talked about begin with prayer. The week before, this last week, we talked about listening. Are you guys listening?
What?
You know what? Yes, but also I would love to know how many emails you got yesterday or the day before, Jeff, of people saying, "Thank you so much. That's exactly what my spouse needed."
Yeah.
Well, I have to be honest. I asked my wife to be real with me, and she's like, "You know how you said you don't do that?" And I was like, "Oh. Okay, yes, I do have to practice that." So I'm taking up the fifth, not the fifth amendment, but the fifth practice.
The fifth practice of the
recommendation of the second practice.
Jeff, that's too much math.
You also could have done number 3, which was clarify.
Yeah. So I did. I asked her a little bit more, but so I gave 5 recommendations on listening, just to try to help us. How do we know how to get better? So the first one was put your assumptions aside. Very simple to say, hard to do because we're all making assumptions, but that's the first one. The second one is focus on the other person. Again, more difficult than it may seem. The third one was, I did that just a moment ago too. Be curious. Be curious. And then the fourth one was, you're curious?
I was wondering what you were going to say, but I decided to remember. Yeah.
Fourth one was clarify, and then the fifth one was practice. So that's what I was saying. I'm doing the fifth of those 5. I'm going to be practicing, clarifying and what my wife told me. So,
well, that is interesting how many of them go together, right?
Mm-hmm. They really do.
If you are curious, then you're going to usually, I think, I could be wrong, but I think that means there'll be less assumptions. Or at least when I'm assuming I know where this conversation is going, or if I'm assuming where they're about to say, that's usually because I'm not curious.
Yeah.
And maybe the negatives go together better than the positives, but.
No, I think you're right. I mean, it's like they do. They both the positives and negatives. They're kind of like a negative loop or a positive, loop that you can get into. So, yeah. Yeah. Which of those do you find, well, now that we've just said they all go together, I'm breaking them apart again.
Yeah.
But which of those do you find the hardest to do? Do you when you think of that?
I think as a whole, people find the first one most difficult because we actually have our own opinions and we want to just say, well, this is what I think, and so I'm going to just kind of push it forward, whereas a lot of times we don't check our blind spots very quickly and very often, and so that's what helps the conversation. But like, what I do think is amazing about all of this is that like this isn't just a class on listening. This isn't just a forum. Like why do we hear this in a sermon? It was because there's something that we need to be connecting with people about when it comes to sharing the gospel and being able to be the hands and feet of Jesus and being the light of the world, or letting him be the light of the world, right? And so a lot of times we need to also just kind of check ourselves a little bit when it comes to listening, and I think assumptions and practicing that listening.
Yeah, if I
once we're into it, I think we can clarify. I think we can do it like once we're into it.
I was just going to say, if I can clarify a little bit, but if I'm understanding you, is this where you're going? A lot of times when we think about sharing the gospel, we think about what we need to say.
Yes.
And part of sharing the gospel is listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we understand where we can connect it, like Paul did when he was in Athens, and he was like, hey, I see all this stuff. He listened to their culture first.
Can I confess something for a second?
Yeah.
So this one summer I had an internship, and one of my jobs was actually to go around and just talk to people on the street, do the whole thing. And
were you with the camera, like the man on the street?
No, just go and talk to somebody. I did not do this practice very well because in my mind I thought, okay, well, I have this whole thing, I have a tract, I have script I have or whatever, and I'm going to go talk to people, and I'm just going to go push this a little bit.
Yeah.
And I sat down, and I remember being also very nervous. I was mid-college, and I remember being extremely nervous. And I sat down and said to this guy, "Hey, do you ever think about spiritual things?" He said, "Actually, quite often I do. I actually am a Buddhist." And for some reason, that kind of just freaked me out. And I'm like, "All right, have a good day."
Well,
And I was not interested in listening.
remember the first...
And I put it. I immediately was like, all my assumptions about what I thought a Buddhist or something, somebody that had a different faith than me, that I couldn't begin with, I'm just going to assume that you're a sinner who knows nothing about Jesus,
Right.
who knows nothing about faith. And I had all these assumptions of what I was supposed to be doing, and it just
Yeah.
out the window. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the internet is a safe space where I can share this, but
Yeah, we know the internet and safe spaces. So
hopefully I listen better. And that's actually kind of why this connects with me
Yeah.
a little bit.
Well, that's what I was saying with my experience. It was very similar
Yeah.
when we were prepared, and you go out and you're like, you're not listening,
Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, Kevin, I wanted to say how dare you assume my difficulty, but I think you're really onto something there. But I do think that's a huge challenge for us. I think sometimes, getting back to something else you said about getting through all our points though, sometimes it's our own need for control of a conversation, right? Like we come agendaed, and I think that's sort of in behind a lot of this as well. And so we've got to control a conversation in a certain way, which then cuts off listening, because we feel like we have to get this and this and this and this. But all of that is built on a certain amount of assumption that we know what the person stands on.
Yeah.
I think back to my college days when we did like world religion courses, and it was very textbook. This is what this person of this position believes, and we're trained to think like, oh, if you are, like you said, a Buddhist or whatever, then you believe this, right? If we think of what was taught about Islam, like, oh, okay, so there's 5 pillars.
Yeah.
Well, in a similar comparison, that assumes that any Christian, if they're of a certain tradition, they must believe all these things, and often it's more someone's beliefs are more nuanced than that. And instead of just flattening it to a certain thing, even someone who says I'm spiritual but not religious, we think that means this, and we check it off.
You're making assumptions.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the most things in seminary that was most challenging is when we did a course on Islam, what we had to do then was go and actually meet some Muslim people and sit down and talk with them and hear their faith and their words, and you realize it's not textbook.
Right.
Yeah.
There's very few people in this world who are, I think I'd be willing to go on a limb and say there's nobody in this world who is just like by any particular rote sort of thing that would fit into such a neat box, I guess is it. And so there's the assumption that's important to not assume, but also, just that, the open ears of, hearing what, for me, one of my struggles is patience. Like, if I think I know where someone's going, it's just like, could we get on with it?
I know.
Well, it's hard enough for my brain to like stay in the moment
Stay
if you
focused.
are talking. So it's like, just get to it, because I left. My brain checked out of this conversation hours ago.
I know.
So that's sometimes a challenge as well.
And there are certain situations where you won't have the time to fully, and so how do you work with that? But the point of listening is thinking about the other person, loving the other person, right? And I mean, that's really the whole point of listen. That's what Jesus did when he listened. He didn't need to hear anything. He knew what everybody thought. I think, I mean, his humanity, his divinity, we see those interplay some, but I don't think he always needed to listen, and yet he did, because he wanted to show people he cared. And so that's really the big thing, is we love people, we care, so we listen. But patience, assumptions. I really like how you said that. Assumptions is tough because we don't even, it's a blind spot. We don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah.
I thought clarifying would be the hardest, because even when people know they should, really struggle to do it like we do. We struggle to actually clarify, right? We think, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. I do this to my wife all the time. She's like, no, you don't get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting. That came up in one of our small group discussions at May Camp this last weekend, right? We were all guys in a conversation, and someone was making some stereotypical, dare I say, soft sexist comments about husbands and wives fighting. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know. You're so young. And I'm like, and what we got talking about was some of the true nature of conflict. And it relates to this clarifying thing of how often even like Sheena and I are saying the same thing, but with different words. And because the words aren't the same, I, assume she's meaning one thing when really she's saying the same thing I am saying, but it doesn't sound like, and it's just, if we could just like hit pause and be like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Or, and hey, when you say this word, what does that look like to you? And because even when you go, like, I think, well, we should just all use the dictionary definition, but how often when we look something up in a dictionary, and I know some people are like, what's that? You'll see like so many words have like, even 5 or 6 different meanings depending on the context. And so,
which one are you using right now?
Right, exactly. So what do you mean by, and that is such an important clarifying question we'd all do well to just ask when you say this, because then we model, right? I've heard this is what I'm hearing, but what does that mean to you? What do you mean by that?
Well,
when I do that, it certainly smooths a lot of things out.
So much, yeah. When I actually take time and be like, okay, I think you're saying this, and then they say, no, I'm saying this. Oh, yeah.
Well, but what I'm saying in that is, you're saying this. Yes, I'm saying that. What
do you mean by that? Yeah.
When I say that, I mean this.
Yes.
Oh, but when you say that, you mean this. Okay.
Yes.
That happens sometimes too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to us right now, and I hope that you're practicing listening to other people as well.
Unless they assumed they knew where this was going and fast forwarded.
So you said something that sparked something I wanted to ask you about. Because I was really listening to you, Chris.
Yeah, totally.
You said something about May Camp. Can you tell? I know we hadn't planned to actually talk about May Camp.
No, May Camp's good.
But tell us a couple highlights. Yeah.
Yeah, just two.
A few, whatever.
We survived. That's highlight number one.
So did you have a thought that you wouldn't? Is that what you're saying?
No, that wasn't in question. It was more like, it was enjoyable. I mean, so much happens in the course of, the 2 and a bit days. And it was good. I mean, we had like 180, 190 students plus leaders. So there's like 240 people hanging out at Green Bay. The speaker was excellent. The worship was so fun. I mean, some of our Baptist churches from the north, you think they were Pentecostals. They're just jumping around. It's fun. It's good fun. One of the things that came up in one of our discussions is sometimes what the challenge with camp setting is it doesn't always reflect exactly like church setting, and I think that's something that's good for our youth to kind of not be dismayed by that, but just sort of like, okay, when we come to church, we're part of something bigger, right? And it can't just be all about us.
Yeah.
And it's okay that in camps we are, and we're having fun, and we're singing songs that maybe we like more, or whatever. But we're just, that's a moment, and we're going to enjoy that. It was really good. We had really great times together as a group, and I always love getting together with some of our other youth and youth leaders around the province. I think that's so fun to see what God is doing in the north. Like the amount of youth from we had like 80 people come from Prince George Mackenzie area.
Wow.
Represented by 4 different groups up there. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And some of that they would tell you as well. It's COVID growth in part because so many people left the Lower Mainland looking for cheaper housing. But a lot of that is these groups reaching out in the community and sharing Jesus with kids who, some of them, the North has some unique emotional and social challenges that we don't always see. And God is doing such good things up there. So that's an encouraging highlight. The time with our students is another encouraging highlight. And then just the conversations we have about like life beyond camp, about church. How are we the church together in this place? All of those are great moments. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and we had a number of students, and you got time with Dylan and Kaylee, who are the leaders, to hang
Yep.
out together
Absolutely.
with the youth of our church. So
And we got to steal everybody away and go down to the grad walk
Yeah.
on Saturday
Yeah.
and cheer our grads on, and all of that was good. I mean,
Yeah.
it was cold. And, lots of things. And every May camp's a little unique and different. Like this year, we had a bear run through camp.
Did you?
One evening. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm walking back to
Like
so.
a person dressed in a bear suit.
Yeah, no. That would be fun though. It would be
A
totally
real
fun
bear.
until Ezra tranks
Wow.
you. No, a real bear. I'm walking. Just kind of funny. Our guys were all in the cabin. There's this one colorful row of cabins on the
Yeah.
far side of the field. That's where our guys were with a few other groups. And I'm walking across the field, and I hear some commotion. And I look over, and there's a bear just booking it across the field towards some trees, and then down towards their construction site.
Wow.
And Ezra was in the cabin. I'm like trying to call him quietly so he could come out and see it.
Yeah.
And I get to him in the cabin, and I'm like, dude, there was a bear. He's like, I heard it. It was right behind our cabin. It freaked me out. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
And then you just, and then camp workers were like, we're going to clear everybody out of this area. Yeah, fair. Okay. We'll track the bear.
That's great.
But it was good. Always good. Always something new.
That's great. Well, it's exciting to hear what's going on with youth around the province and what's going on in Prince George. And I've heard from some of the pastors there that God just seems to be doing something in our churches in Prince George, which is really exciting. We have something else that you're going to tell us about.
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on right now?
You mean the fidget toy I had that I had to put
Yeah.
away in my pocket because it was distracting me? And, if anyone,
And everybody else?
Baby bottle time. Is that? I love that we've turned these into rattles. But
Baby
it is baby bottle time. And so if you want to support the Okanagan Pregnancy Care Center, you can grab one of these and slip money in, or you can grab one of these and just as a reminder of the website, which is on here, and you can go online and you can give, or you can just go online to the ovpcc.com and give that way as well. But this campaign runs until Father's Day. And it's just an opportunity for us to support an organization that is caring for would-be moms and people just going through maybe unexpected pregnancy, supporting families in lots of different ways. And so we're just looking for ways to help them out.
Yeah, and you can learn more on the website about what they do. But it's
Absolutely.
really something that a lot of our churches in West Kelowna, at least, have really wanted to support and have people support. So, we're excited about that. What's coming up, Kevin?
Well, Father's Day, that goes till Father's Day. Father's Day is in the middle of June. And that's in the middle of all of June. And so in all of June, we actually just want to kind of have a picnic time. And so what we've done the last couple of years is, rather than kind of pick one day and we may or may not have good weather and we may or may not have everybody be able to show up and all that, we tried to kind of just simplify a little bit. And so what we've decided is every Sunday in June, from the first to the end, every Sunday we're going to just encourage people to head down to the Galatly Nut Farm and just we'll have a specific spot, but we'll just kind of hang out and just unofficially kind of motion everybody that way right after the service so that we can just kind of gather. So what that means is bring your own lunch, bring your own food, bring your own chairs. We'll provide some water if needed, and we bring some activities for playing in the field and stuff like that to kind of just keep things rolling, but just really to make it light and casual and to just enjoy some great fun in the sun.
Yeah, so you mentioned that we're not going to pick a day. We actually did pick a day in September, right? Where we're going to be at Green Bay. So we will have that too.
So there's like a church picnic that's coming up much later on, but this is just kind of just hang out by the beach.
We want as many people as possible to be able to be a part of something. So every week we're inviting you down, and that way if you can't make one week, then maybe you can make another, and we'll just enjoy time together. So yeah, awesome. And believe it or not, that's not this Sunday, but it's the next. that's already coming to be June. So, yeah, I looked at my calendar
I
this
was
morning.
worried, I was worried for
Yeah.
a moment. Is
Yeah.
it over already?
So, yeah, we're looking forward to some of these things. We're looking forward to the E in Bless this week. So, come on Sunday and find out what that is. You can look back to a couple weeks ago and find out what that was, but
It's hardly secret information.
it's not secret, but I'm not going to tell you right now. So come on Sunday and find out. We're excited to be together again. So hope you're having a great week, and we'll see you soon.